Hey guys, welcome to the Commander Lounge. And I'm back here to show you guys a new Pauper deck I built. This is called Black Red Reanimate, or Black Red Reanimator. And yeah, let's just get into the deck. Okay, so we start off with Sandstone Needles. This is the first time in Pauper I've gotten to play these types of land. I don't know if you call it the depletion counter land or whatever you want to call it, but these lands are great, especially in a combo deck where you want to ramp, you want to come out quick. It's fantastic. So what it does is it enters the battlefield tapped with 2 depletion counters on it. When you remove a depletion counter, you may add, you have to tap it, remove a depletion counter, then you add 2 red mana to your mana pool. The only downside is if there are no depletion counters on this card, I have to sacrifice it. So you only get to use it twice, but in those 2 times, you add 2 mana each time, so it's essentially ramp. So we run 2 of those. And then we run the black version, which is called Peat Bog. So we run 2 of those also. The cool thing about these 2 cards is that in this deck, there's a way to save these cards. And that is in the form of Rakdos Carnarium, which I think these are called the Karoo lands. But the reason why this card is so good with the, I don't know, call them the depletion lands, is because you can actually use one of the depletion lands once, play this card, bring it back to your hand, and then you can do it again, so you can have 2 more uses of that card. So we run 2 Rakdos Carnariums for that reason. Next, just more fixing. We have Bloodfell Caves, run 4 of Bloodfell Caves. And then 3 Evolving Wilds. There's a good bit of land, so we kind of want to filter through it a little bit to keep hitting good stuff. So we run 3 Evolving Wilds. Then I believe 4 Mountains and 2 Swamps. And then this I put in the lands also because these are like pseudo lands to me. This is like my little addition to the deck. I added 2 Lotus Petals. I did that for speed because it's a combo deck. We want to come out fast before people can hold back 2 counter spells with 4 lands to do it, because that's a problem for us. So Lotus Petal gets us out a little quicker. You can, in this deck, have the turn 1 reanimate Ulamog's Crusher with, well, I'll get into that combo in a second, but you can reanimate Ulamog's Crusher and give it haste turn 1. But you have to have both Lotus. So you have to have the lottery hand to do that. It is not crazy possible for that to happen often. So yeah. So now we're gonna get into the combo. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take Exhume. We're gonna use Ulamog's Crusher. Oh well, we're not gonna use Ulamog's Crusher. We're gonna put Ulamog's Crusher in the graveyard. We're gonna put Dragon's Breath in the graveyard. And then we're going to reanimate it with Exhume. So, Exhume says each player chooses a creature card in his or her graveyard and puts that creature into the battlefield. You have to watch out because sometimes you'll have that person that's running like Delver Angler, and they can put a Delver, put an Angler in the yard before you Exhume. So just watch out for that. Even though Ulamog's Crusher can easily face an Angler, it's not too much of a problem. So yeah, Dragon's Breath is an amazing card in this deck, just because giving Ulamog Crusher haste is fantastic. What it is, 2 mana. It's an enchantment. The enchanted creature gains haste. It gives it fire breathing, and then whenever a creature with converted mana cost 6 or more comes into play, you may return this from the graveyard to that creature. So it's absolutely insane. Ulamog's Crusher is just a house. If you guys don't know about him in Pauper, he's the card you don't want to see on the other side of the table, because he will just start making you sacrifice stuff that you do not want to sacrifice. And in this deck, he pretty much comes out early and says, I've never had so many early concedes in a game until I started playing this deck, and so many salty people. And I'm sorry, people that are out there, but like, this deck is so fun to me. I really love this deck. So this is the combo. Now let's show you how we're gonna get there. Oh, by the way, Shred Memory. We added 2 of Shred Memory because of its transmute to go get Exhumes if we don't have it. It's a little slow. I honestly think it's good we don't have another Exhume type effect card in this deck, because then it might be questionable to ban it. To think about banning this deck, because this deck is actually, like, even though it seems like it's not like top tier and everything, I've been testing it for a while on MTGO, and it's been really good. I thought this deck was gonna be cute. It's a lot more than cute. It's a solid deck. Shred Memory can also be used if you're done reanimating something to remove up to 4 target cards in a single graveyard from the game. So you can take away people's value cards, like in Demir teachings. You can get rid of, what is it called, mystical teachings or whatever it is, and you can get rid of AKs and stuff. Accumulated knowledge is just, you know, go against the decks that utilize the graveyard, and it's also good against the mirror match if you ever face it. All right. So now, how are we gonna get our cards in the graveyard? How are we getting Dragon Breath and what's called Old Crusher into the graveyard? Well, Stinkweed definitely helps, but you have to get him in the graveyard also. He's 3 mana for a 1/2 flying, but the cool thing about him is that he when he deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature. This is a great control card. If you can't combo off quickly, sometimes this can hold it. You can keep on dredging 5 and bringing this back to essentially hold off all the damage that's coming your way. I absolutely love this card. I gained more love for this card since I started playing this deck. By the way, if you guys don't know what Dredge is, this card has Dredge 5, and when it is in the graveyard, anytime you would draw a card, you could instead not draw a card and bring this back to your hand and take the top 5 cards of your graveyard and put top 5 cards of your library and put it into your graveyard. I don't know. I don't know if Wizards didn't think right when they made Dredge a thing. Dredge is so powerful since we utilize the graveyard so much for value. And this definitely helps you get there. So this is another card we want to get into the graveyard if we can't get Ulamog's Crusher and Dragon's Breath in first. We definitely want this in. All right, now to our real ways to kind of dump all the creatures into the graveyard. First, Faithless Looting. Absolute all-star in this deck. Once again, I don't know if Wizards thought this through. I think it should have been a rummage card. It should have been discard 2 cards, then draw 2 cards. Being able to draw 2, that's a blue thing. It's absolutely amazing, and being able to flash it back is fantastic too. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. So you can turn 1 and use this card to just dump the Dragon's Breath Ulamog's Crusher, and if you have Exhume in your hand, even better. It just makes it fantastic. It turns into a turn 2 Ulamog's Crusher if you got the mana for it. So yeah, it is amazing. So we run a playset. Have to run a playset. Next is Insolent Neonaut. I underrated this card so much. This card is amazing. Like when I first saw this card spoiled, I was like, "There's no chance of it seeing Pauper play. I don't like it." But it's just nuts. It's really good. It can be an early beater for a little bit if you're facing the slower decks, the more controlly decks. And that discard, sacrificing to draw a card, like it synergizes in this deck. It synergizes so well with Stinkweed Imp. This card synergizes so well with Dredge in general, because if you have Stinkweed Imp in your hand, you discard Stinkweed Imp, sacrifice Neonet, draw a card. On the draw card trigger, you instead Dredge 5, and that's usually amazing. So that's why we run a playset of him. He's really good. Next is another one of my addition from the original list I saw, and probably more lists are running it because it's such an amazing card, and that's Cathartic Reunion. So you pay 2 as an additional cost. You have to discard 2 cards and then draw 3 cards. So once again, discard Stinkweed Imp, Dragon Breath, Ulamog's Crusher, and then you draw 3 cards. Drawing 3 cards is amazing. Like even if you're not discarding the right cards. If you don't have the right cards to put in the graveyard yet, sometimes just discarding 2 cards and draw 3 cards will dig you to the combo pieces you need. Draw 3, so this card's so powerful, it's amazing. We run only 2 of though, because it starts out being amazingly powerful, endgame it becomes trash. Endgame sometimes it's just a dead card that you won't be able to cast. So we only run 2 of those, and the other 2 we run is the original card that I saw on the original list, and that's Tormenting Voice, which all you have to do is discard 1 card for 2 cards. Not as powerful, but once again, it's more. I'm going to be able to cast this more than Cathartic. So yeah, that's why I run 2 Tormenting Voice. Next is Manamorphose. This card is absolutely fantastic in combo decks. And it's especially good in this deck because sometimes we have a little bit of fixing problems. And Manamorphose lets you get around that, especially when you want to transmute to get exhumed from, Shred Memory. So it's really good doing that. And it also is real good when a Stinkweed Imp is in the graveyard. So you can, instead of draw a card, you can Dredge 5 instead. So that's why Manamorphose gets the nod in here. So we run a playset of Manamorphose. Next, Lightning Axe. You got cards you want to put into the graveyard. We need good removal for like Garmag Angler and stuff. Lightning Axe is absolutely fantastic in this format. In Pauper, Lightning Axe's house, it will take out pretty much everything you need to take out. And the reason, and also the reason, it's 1 mana for 5 damage to a creature, which is in Pauper, it's insane. It's really good. And then it also gives you more value in this deck because it lets you discard a card. With some decks, it may be a downside. In this deck, it's usually all upside. So we run 3 Lightning Axes. So, I mean, even though this is a combo deck, this is one of those decks that you could just, it kind of turns into, playing Solitaire. You have a little bit of interaction in this deck, just a little bit. It's sprinkled with interaction, I guess. And then the last little bit of interaction you get is Duress. I absolutely love this card. It's one of my favorite cards in black. It's an absolute great budget option if you can't afford Thoughtseizes and what's the other card? Cabal Therapy. Well, I mean, it's not as great, but I just love this card, and I really thought it was cool that there was a deck that main decks Duress, and we need Duress against the control matchup, mono blue, mono black, anything like that, to make sure our combo goes off and our combo sticks. So we run 3 Duresses for that fact. Alright, now on to the sideboard. Surprise! The first card is Pyroblast. Why? Because mono blue Delver is terrible. And it absolutely, there are so many ways to, the only problem with this deck is that there are so many angles to answer. There's so many silver bullets for this deck. You have Graveyard Hate. You have, of course, Counterspells, which you can fairly say that against any deck. And you have Hand Disruption. Hand Disruption is a problem, too. Even though there's so many cards you want to discard, if they take out, like that, if you have 1 Exhume in your hand and they take that out, that's a problem. So we run Pyroblast for that fact. So we run 4 of those against the mono blue decks, of course. And then we run Duress. We run this also against the mono blue decks. We put it in against the mono black decks. We put this in against anything running white after the sideboard because most likely they're going to be putting in Journey to Nowheres, and that's a problem. So those are usually the places we put these. Next is Electrickery. We use them for aggro, elves, tokens. They come out faster than us. That's a problem. We need to keep that in check. If we don't combo off quickly, we might as well be answering them quickly, so then we can get the combo later. So we run a 3 of Electrickeries because it's important. Next is Ingot Chewer. I haven't been playing Affinity. I haven't been playtesting Affinity much lately, so I don't know how to tell you how I like this card or not. So yeah, I mean, it seems good though. You can evoke it. It's 5 mana for a 3/3, but you can pay a red and evoke it, which that means you bring it into the battlefield, and then you sacrifice it right away. And when Ignite Chewer comes into play, destroy target artifact. So I was thinking this is cool because you can early game get rid of an artifact land or something, and then later on, if you don't have the big combo to end the game, if you don't have Ulamog's Crush or Dragon Breath in the graveyard, you can always bring this back. You can always Exhume for this for value to be able to destroy target artifact and have a body out. I don't know if it's crazy good effective. I can see how this can somehow waste an Exhume, but we're testing. We're gonna see how it works. So Ignite Chewer, and then we have, of course, we gotta put 1 Gorilla Shaman in. It's a silver bullet against the Affinity decks. It's just insanely good. It's usually you play this turn 2. They can, Affinity players concede unless they know that they can get around it. Next, Chainer's Edict. We run 2 of those against Boggles, against probably I think I put them in against Tron too, since sometimes they put out less threats depending on the Tron, of course. And I think that's it. There may be another place I put this, but I can't think of off the top of my head. But Chainer's Edict's really good because we can't target stuff in Boggles. Target creatures in Boggles. We can target the player and make them get rid of, maybe a beefy thing. So we run 2 of Chainer's Edicts against those matchup. And last but not least, Nile Spellbomb. Mirror match against anything blue-black, basically. Take away value. Try to keep them from bringing out Grimag Angler. Take away Teachings. Take away Chainer's Edict value. Yeah. So that's the last card for the sideboard. So that is Red-Black Reanimator, or Red-Black Reanimate, however you want to say it. This deck is amazing. This deck, it makes, I've noticed on MTGO, I mean, there's some salty players on MTGO, but it makes some people mad. But I mean, it's MTGO. You can just start up a match right away if you don't like the matchup real quick. I mean, it's fantastic. It's really fast. Even though it seems like it feels like a glass canning, high risk, high reward kind of deck. But actually, I've had some long games with this deck. I've had to sit until I had Pyroblast or something to reanimate and stuff like that. I've hard casted Ulamog's Crusher to bait counter spells and stuff. It's surprising how durable this deck is, like how it can still win late game, because I thought this deck was just like, I reanimate it in the first 4 turns or I lose, and it's not like that at all. You can actually go the late game with this deck. There are times where it will be that case, but I think it's more rare. It's a more rare thing to run into, that they just take away like an Exhume out of your hand and you just lose the game. It just depends. I think it just highly depends on the deck that you're facing. But yeah, I will have a link in the description below for the actual deck list, and just let me know what you guys think about this deck. You love it? You hate it? I love Ulamog Crusher. It's crazy. So yeah, just let me know what you think of the video. Like, favorite, and subscribe, and take it easy, guys. Bobble bobble.